The 2025 Formula One season was meant to be the dawn of a new era for McLaren, the moment the Papaya team finally stepped out of Red Bull's shadow and launched a full-scale championship assault. After years of rebuilding, of near misses and steady progress, McLaren arrived in 2025 with what many called their most complete car since the peak of Lewis Hamilton's rookie days. And at the center of it all were two of the brightest stars in modern Formula One: Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. A dream lineup, a title-winning car, a united team, or so it seemed. Behind the smiles, the celebrations, and the carefully crafted social media clips, something deeper has been brewing inside McLaren, something the cameras don't show. Whispers in the paddock have turned into conversations, and conversations into rumours that Oscar Piastri's relationship with McLaren's management is beginning to fracture, and that a quiet power struggle might be unfolding behind closed doors. It started subtly. Small things. A pit stop here, a strategy call there, moments that individually could be dismissed as coincidences. But put together over a season, they start to form a pattern that's impossible to ignore. Fans began asking the question everyone else was too nervous to say aloud. Is McLaren unintentionally favouring Lando Norris? And if so, could it be costing Oscar Piastri his shot at the World Championship? For months, that question has echoed through the paddock. Insiders talk about disagreements, miscommunication, and a growing sense of frustration from Piastri's side of the garage. The Australian, once McLaren's quiet prodigy, has turned into a full-blown title contender, yet finds himself fighting not only Max Verstappen and George Russell, but also the complicated politics of his own team. McLaren insists both drivers are treated equally. But equality in Formula One is rarely that simple. In a sport where milliseconds decide careers, even the smallest bias, intentional or not, can shift the balance. And when fans started comparing radio messages, pit timings, and strategy choices between the two drivers, the difference became hard to ignore. When Norris leads, strategy seems to flow around him. When Piastri does, decisions suddenly get more complicated, as if the team isn't quite sure how to react. Even the body language tells its own story. When Norris wins, the atmosphere in the garage is electric, engineers cheering, mechanics celebrating, Zak Brown front and center. But when Piastri crosses the line first, the energy changes. The smiles are there, but they're tighter, quieter. The congratulations feel more obligatory than emotional. It sends a subtle, almost subconscious message that Norris is McLaren's heart, and Piastri is their challenger, not their equal. This dynamic, whether real or perceived, has transformed what should have been McLaren's golden season into a mental and emotional tug-of-war. Oscar Piastri, known for his composure and methodical calm, is now carrying the weight of championship pressure while managing the politics of a team split between two stars. And that's where his mentor, Mark Webber, becomes crucial. Webber knows this game all too well. He lived through it himself at Red Bull, alongside Sebastian Vettel. The internal politics, the silent hierarchies, the moments where one driver realizes he's fighting not just his rivals, but the team around him. That experience has shaped how he guides Piastri, urging him to stay focused, to let results speak louder than emotion, and to remember that Formula One is as much psychological warfare as it is racing. But even Webber's calm advice can't erase what happened after the Singapore Grand Prix, the race where everything seemed to boil over. In that race, strategy confusion and miscommunication between Piastri and his race engineer cost him a potential podium, maybe even a win. Frustration spilled over the radio. Words were exchanged. And though both sides downplayed the incident afterward, the atmosphere at McLaren noticeably shifted. From that point, whispers began that Piastri's patience was wearing thin, and that his camp was quietly evaluating what options might exist beyond McLaren. And timing in Formula One is everything, because looming over all of this is the 2026 regulation overhaul, a once-in-a-decade reset that could rewrite the competitive order. Every major team is already planning for that new era, and every top driver is thinking 2 steps ahead. Even Bernie Ecclestone, never one to hand out compliments lightly, recently called Piastri one of the most talented and mature young drivers F1 has seen in years. That's high praise, and it reflects what many inside the paddock quietly believe, that Oscar Piastri is not just good, he's special. Yet somehow, inside McLaren, he still feels like the second story in his own success. Small strategy mistakes keep creeping in. Calls that could swing races seem to lean the other way, and as Verstappen's upgraded Red Bull finds form again, those small errors are turning into massive consequences. Piastri's lead in the standings, once comfortable, has started to shrink, and the frustration, though hidden behind a calm exterior, is starting to show in tiny moments, clipped radio replies, longer post-race silences, and an unmistakable tension during press interviews. If McLaren doesn't handle this situation carefully, the fallout could be catastrophic. Losing Piastri would not just damage their championship hopes, it would hit the very foundation they've spent years rebuilding. After all, how many teams get handed a driver who's both lightning fast and mentally bulletproof, and then risk driving him away? The irony is that both Norris and Piastri are brilliant, two of the best of their generation. But Formula One history has shown that when two alpha talents are forced to share one team, something eventually gives. Senna and Prost, Hamilton and Rosberg, Webber and Vettel. The story almost always ends the same way, in fireworks, fractures and headlines. For now, Piastri remains the model professional. Calm, composed, focused, but patience is not infinite. Every driver, no matter how disciplined, has a breaking point. And if McLaren continues to treat him like the supporting act, that loyalty could turn into liberation, a decision to walk away and rewrite his story somewhere else. Because no driver, no matter how talented, wants to spend his prime years fighting his own team instead of his rivals. So, the question now isn't just whether McLaren can win the 2025 championship, it's whether they can keep their team from tearing itself apart in the process. Will McLaren realize what they truly have in Oscar Piastri before it's too late? Or are we about to witness another seismic shift, the moment when the sport's most promising young star decides that loyalty has limits, and that sometimes walking away is the only way to win? Because if the current trajectory continues, the story of McLaren's 2025 season might not end with confetti and champagne, but with the sound of a door closing, and Oscar Piastri walking out, leaving behind not just a team, but a warning. Never underestimate the cost of favoritism in Formula One.